Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Scripps, Chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission. I call this meeting of the Commission to order on October 29th, 2020 at 1:30 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps.
I am present and attending remotely from the village of Northport in beautiful Leelanau County, Michigan.
Commissioner Talberg.
I am present and I'm participating remotely from the dreary Ingham County at my residence.
Commissioner Phillips.
I am present and also participating from Ingham County. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We are holding this meeting remotely using Microsoft Live Event. It is compatible with all browsers except Safari. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. During this meeting, we will call out participant names before speaking to support those listening only by phone or using relay service. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose connection, the Commission will be in recess. We will attempt to reestablish a connection, but if we are unable to do so within 30 minutes, we will adjourn. Decisions made prior to the disconnection will be binding. Other business will be handled at a future meeting. We will not recess or adjourn due to technical issues experienced by individual members of the public. The meeting will be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comment via mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. For reference, this email is also included in the Q&A feature on the live stream event on your computer and in the meeting notice. If you have intermittent internet service, you should consider listening to the meeting via telephone, not the computer, so that if there is an interruption, you can avoid missing part of the meeting. Another option is to watch the meeting through your internet service with the sound muted and then listen to the audio from your phone. Please keep in mind the video feed has a slight delay while the telephone line is in real time. We will have an opportunity for the public to make comment as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this. Comments should be limited to one per person and can be made verbally by calling in or in writing via the live stream Q&A feature. If you are participating via Teams application, you can use the Q&A feature and type your comments in the box anytime during our meeting, and we will have those queued up to read. The Q&A function should be used to request technical assistance or to submit public comments directed to the Commission. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must call into the meeting by phone. To minimize disruptions, attendees will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. The first order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting. I recognize Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chairman. I move for the approval of the agenda for today's Commission meeting.
Commissioner Talberg.
Second.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Talberg.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The agenda is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the September 24, 2020 Commission meeting. Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the minutes from the September 24th, 2020 Commission meeting.
Commissioner Talberg.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the September 24th, 2020 Commission meeting. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Talberg.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The Commission meeting minutes of September 24th, 2020 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the orders on the consent agenda. And today the Commission is assisted by Staff Attorney Barb Kunkel. I recognize Ms. Kunkel.
Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 2 communication matters, 7 electric matters, and 2 gas matters. The proposed orders and minute action for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chairman. I move for the approval of the orders and minute action on the consent agenda.
Commissioner Talberg.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute action on the consent agenda. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Talberg.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The orders and minute action on the consent agenda are approved. Ms. Kunkel, back to you.
Item 4A1 is case number U-20744, which involves an action on the Commission's own motion to order Blue Jay Wireless LLC to show cause why it should not be found in violation of federal and state requirements for designation as an eligible telecommunications carrier for purposes of offering lifeline service on a wireless basis. The order before you revokes Blue Jay Wireless LLC's designation as an eligible communications carrier for purposes of providing lifeline service in the state of Michigan.
Commissioner Phillips, would you like to move this?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20744.
Commissioner Tallberg,
I second the motion.
is there any discussion?
I have some brief comments, Chairman. First, I would like to thank the Telecommunications Division here at the MPSC for their continued work in prioritizing customer safety and continued access to vital telecommunications services in Michigan. This has always been core to your work, but the passion and commitment of those in the Telecommunications Division has really shown through during this economic and public health crisis. Secondly, despite the persistent failure of Blue Jay Wireless to comply with the federal and state ETC requirements necessary to sustain their ability to offer lifeline services to Michigan residents, there are still a number of Michigan lifeline providers currently active across the state. I would encourage customers in need of assistance to visit the MPSC website for more information on lifeline eligibility requirements as well as availability. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Phillips. We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20744 is approved. Ms. Kunkel?
Item 4A2 is case number U-20830, which involves an application by Caftech Communications, Inc. for a temporary and permanent license to provide basic local exchange service throughout the state of Michigan. The order before you dismisses the original and amended applications without prejudice.
Commissioner Phillips?
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20830.
Commissioner Tallberg?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20830 is approved. Ms. Kunkel?
Item 4B1 is case number U-15805, which involves an application by Consumers Energy Company for ex parte commission review and approval of an amendment to its renewable energy purchase agreement with River Fork Solar LLC. The order before you approves the amendment to the renewable energy purchase agreement with River Fork Solar LLC.
Commissioner Phillips?
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-15805.
Commissioner Tallberg?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-15805 is approved. Ms. Kunkel?
Item 4B2 is case number U-18361, which involves the promulgation of rules establishing a code of conduct for utilities and alternative electric suppliers. The order before you responds to a request for clarification and closes the docket.
Commissioner Phillips?
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-18361.
Commissioner Tallberg?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-18361 is approved. Ms. Kunkel?
Item 4B3 is case number U-20202, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company for reconciliation of power supply cost recovery expenses and revenues for calendar year 2018. The order before you approves the application as modified by the order.
Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chairman. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20202.
Commissioner Talberg.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Talberg.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20202 is approved. Ms. Kunkel.
Item 4B4 is case number U-20374, which involves an application filed by Indiana Michigan Power Company requesting approval of its 2020 and 2021 Energy Waste Reduction Plan. The order before you approves the Energy Waste Reduction Plan in part.
Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20374.
Commissioner Talberg.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Talberg.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20374 is approved. Ms. Kunkel.
Item 4B5 is case number U-20563, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company requesting authority to reconcile its 2018 demand response program costs. The order before you approves the reconciliation as modified by the order and directs Consumers Energy Company to provide notice to the Commission staff whenever demand response expenditures will exceed the amount approved for expenditure by 10% of approved expenditures.
Commissioner Phillips.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20563.
Commissioner Talberg.
And I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Talberg.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20563 is approved. Ms. Kunkel.
Item 4B6 is case number U-20604, which involves an application by Consumers Energy Company for ex parte approval of amended power purchase agreements. The order before you approves the amended power purchase agreements with Next Sun Energy, LLC.
Commissioner Phillips.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20604.
Commissioner Talberg.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Talberg.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20604 is approved. Ms. Kunkel.
Item 4B7 is case numbers U-20628 et al., which involve a matter on the Commission's own motion regarding electric demand response tariffs and efficient deployment of load modifying resources. The order before you discusses the Commission staff's final report filed on July 31st, 2020 in case number U-20628, provides direction for the Commission staff and Michigan rate regulated utilities regarding demand response moving forward, and reopens the docket in case number U-20348 for comment and review as set forth in the order.
Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20628 et al.
Commissioner Talberg.
I'll second the motion.
Great. Before we move to the vote on this item, I want to offer a couple of comments. First, I want to thank the staff leads for this work group, Eric Hanser and Katie Smith, who have done a tremendous job in working through the many issues involved. This work group came out of the recommendations from last year's statewide energy assessment on how to ensure that demand response is there when we need it, and to look at the many technical and communication issues involved. Demand response is a valuable resource, particularly with increased power plant retirements and the need to efficiently meet customer demand during peak periods. Accordingly, demand response must evolve with changes in markets, technology, and communications and continuously improve. And the recommendations from the staff's report and the actions taken in today's order further our progress on these issues. In addition, against the backdrop of the September 17th decision from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in Order 2222 that allows for the aggregation of distributed energy resources, including demand response, as well as the current constraints in terms of capacity in MISO Zone 7 and the lack of availability of certain resources, we find it prudent to revisit the current ban on aggregated demand response articulated in our August 8, 2019 order in case number U-20348. To that end, we are reopening that case for the purpose of accepting comments to the following questions. First, should the partial ban on demand response aggregation maintained in that order be lifted to allow full participation of aggregated demand response resources in the wholesale markets? Second, should the Commission delay its final decision on lifting the partial ban on demand response aggregation until the Commission receives greater clarity from the regional transmission operators and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, including around implementation of Order 2222? If the Commission determines that the ban should be lifted, should the effective date coincide with the implementation of Order 2222? Third, are the safeguards put in place for aggregation of demand response for customers participating in the retail open access market sufficient, or are additional measures needed if the current ban is lifted? And then finally, are current Commission processes and procedures, including capacity demonstrations, sufficient to include visibility into demand response aggregator activity and related accounting for maintaining operational reliability and supporting utility resource planning and procurement? If not, what changes are needed? And in particular, we're looking at a number of issues, including how should double counting of demand response be avoided, particularly for customers currently enrolled in utility demand response programs? To what extent should Commission processes and procedures interact and overlap with RTO processes to ensure proper registration, information sharing, and transparency? And are RTO processes alone sufficient to provide visibility into demand response aggregator activity? And also, if it is found that more information or oversight is needed for operations, planning, or customer protection and disclosure, are there statutory limitations that would stymie the Commission's ability to obtain sufficient information on demand response aggregation? We look forward to input from various stakeholders to inform the Commission's consideration of these issues going forward. And again, many thanks to Mr. Hanser and Ms. Smith, as well to all of the stakeholders who participated in this process for their work and contributions. Are there any additional comments or discussion on this item? If not, we will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case numbers U-20628 et al. Is approved. Ms. Kunkel.
Item 4B8 is case numbers U-20633 et al., which involve a matter on the Commission's own motion directing the Commission staff to develop recommendations to be considered by the Commission as to how utilities may best consider in their integrated resource plans the emissions reduction targets set by Executive Directive 2020-10. The order before you directs the Commission staff to develop a straw proposal to present to stakeholders within the My Power Grid Phase 2 Advanced Planning Workgroup, to file a report in case number U-20633 summarizing the straw proposal and any other proposals and stakeholder feedback, and to provide a recommendation. The order before you also provides stakeholders and interested persons an opportunity to comment on the Commission staff report.
Thank you, Ms. Kunkel. Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20633 et al.
Commissioner Tallberg.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. Motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case numbers U-20633 et al. Is approved. Ms. Kunkel.
Item 4B9 is case number U-20645, which involves the establishment on the Commission's own motion of My Power Grid. Staff member Joy Wong will describe this order.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. On October 17, 2019, the Commission issued an order opening the U20645 docket to provide the impetus, vision, objectives, process, and next steps for the My Power Grid initiative established by the Commission in partnership with Governor Gretchen Whitmer. In the October 17th order, the Commission directed staff to engage with utilities and stakeholders on existing pilot projects to understand outcomes and apply lessons learned, investigate past Commission-approved pilots and identify best practices in other states in order to propose objective criteria for the Commission to utilize when evaluating proposed utility pilot projects, and work with utilities and stakeholders to identify potential areas for additional pilot proposals. Staff filed its Utility Pilot Best Practices and Future Pilot Areas report on September 30th, 2020. It highlighted the efforts of the Energy Programs and Technology Pilots Workgroup, stakeholder process, and staff's findings and recommendations. Staff and the Commission in today's order thank the many participating stakeholders for enriching the process by adding depth and breadth. In response to staff's recommendation that the Commission adopt goals and a vision for future pilot proposals, the order provides clarifying points. First, it is the Commission's vision that future pilot programs should strive to meet the My Power Grid goals and engage utility customers and other stakeholders to help integrate new clean energy technologies and optimize grid investments for reliable, affordable electricity service. Second, future pilot programs should be cohesive with the Commission's mission statement to protect the public by ensuring safe, reliable, and accessible energy and telecommunication services at reasonable rates for Michigan's residents. The Commission will adopt a definition for the term pilot and implement objective criteria for evaluating pilot program proposals, which staff recommended, for both gas and electric utilities. However, prior to adoption, the Commission seeks feedback on staff's proposed definition and objective criteria presented in Exhibit A. The supplemental data for the objective criteria must be submitted as part of a comprehensive pilot plan for all future pilot program proposals coming before the Commission for funding approval in any proceeding. Because the Energy Programs and Technology Pilots Workgroup focused primarily on the electric sector, the Commission provides notice to natural gas utilities and others that may have not participated in the workgroup to allow them the opportunity to comment. The order directs that any interested person may submit written or electronic comments regarding the proposed pilot definition and objective criteria. All comments must be filed with the Commission no later than 5 p.m. Eastern Time on December 11th, 2020. Rather than developing a new pilot review process, the order reaffirms currently available processes to review and approve pilot programs, including ex parte proceedings and the discretion and flexibility afforded by the Energy Waste Reduction Plan proceedings. However, the Commission is open to future proposals relating to potential new procedures for pilot program review. It also encourages dialogue between utilities and staff at both the front and back end of the pilot process. Lastly, the order directs staff to develop an online Michigan pilot directory to increase transparency and information sharing. It encourages utilities to work with staff to provide information needed to develop the online directory during the first half of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong, for that great summary and for your work and leadership on this effort. Is there a motion, Commissioner Phillips?
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20645.
Commissioner Talberg?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
I do have some comments here, Chair. I first would just like to applaud Dr. Wong and the Energy Programs and Technology Pilots stakeholder community for covering so much ground in what was a tumultuous eight-month period from the kickoff of the stakeholder meetings in February to the release of the final report in September. I also would like to thank staff from throughout the Commission as the draft and review of the Energy Programs and Technology Pilots report and the compilation of the data within the report was truly a team effort. The compilation of the report involves staff from across several MPSC divisions, and they voluntarily put forth their time and support to the work group. At one point, staff identified and reviewed over 155 MPSC cases in order to generate a comprehensive list of filed utility pilots from 2008 to 2019. So it was truly a team effort. Moving forward, the staff recommendations put forth in the order before the commission today will allow the commission and staff to be more consistent and rigorous in our review of utility pilots, will provide electric and gas utilities with better expectations on what the commission expects from the next generation of utility pilots, particularly in the context of the mission and the goals of the MPSC and the My Power Grid initiative. And lastly, will allow for the increased transparency and accessibility of past and ongoing utility pilot technology and program implementation. So again, I thank you, Dr. Wong, and I thank you to the staff for all of your work.
Very good. Any additional discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20645 is approved. Ms. Kunkel?
Item 4B10 is case number U-20828, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company for temporary waivers of certain regulatory requirements impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The order before you approves 5 and denies 1 of the requested waivers.
Commissioner Phillips?
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20828.
Commissioner Tallberg?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20828 is approved. Ms. Kunkel?
Item 4B11 is case number U-20846, which involves a complaint filed by Randall W. Phillips against Consumers Energy Company. The order before you dismisses the complaint without prejudice.
Commissioner Phillips?
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20846.
Commissioner Tallberg?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20846 is approved. Ms. Kunkel?
Item 4B12 is case number U-20898, which involves the establishment on the Commission's own motion of a collaborative to consider issues related to implementation of effective new technologies and business models. The order before you establishes the collaborative, provides direction for the Commission staff and stakeholders, and sets a date for the filing of the first status report.
Commissioner Phillips?
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20898.
Commissioner Tallberg?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
Chair Scripps, I do have a few comments on this item.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you. So this new technologies and business models work group is being launched with this order. It's part of phase 2 of My Power Grid, and we'll hear later today a presentation from staff that recaps all of the various initiatives that are underway. And the goal of this new effort is to address regulatory and business model barriers to the deployment and full utilization of clean distributed energy resources in Michigan. And we realize the need to adapt the regulatory framework to allow for different applications of distributed resources and to define the appropriate roles of utilities, customers, third-party developers, and entrepreneurs in supporting a more decentralized energy system that's clean, affordable, reliable, and accessible. There have been recent developments that affect this effort, such as Governor Whitmer's My Healthy Climate Plan to be carbon neutral by 2050, FERC Order 2222 providing for the aggregation of distributed energy resources in the wholesale electricity markets, the Governor's creation of the Michigan Council on Future Mobility and Electrification, and our very own Commissioner Phillips is serving on that to represent the Public Service Commission. And then also the continued implementation of utility electric vehicle programs that have been approved over the last few years. So if anything, changes in technology are accelerating, and so it's important to look at these regulatory issues and other barriers that may stand in the way. The work group will be designed to create a shared understanding of different technologies and their potential applications, and to identify barriers and potential solutions for consideration by the Commission. The examination of barriers should focus on issues and solutions that the Commission, in its oversight of utilities under the current regulated market model established by the Michigan legislature, can address, but we also recognize that there's market, policy, legal impediments to certain technology applications that may be identified through this process and that extend beyond the Commission's ability to address directly under its existing authority. The group will focus on several technologies: electric vehicles, storage, microgrids, distributed energy generation, and heat pumps. And just one example is the question of the sale for resale provisions involving electric vehicle charging installations that have on-site energy storage or electric generation. Another question relates to a microgrid that may have multiple users involved. So there's kind of countless examples, and we look forward to the discussions and seeing what the potential is of these technologies and some of the things that stand in the way. This work group ties into many other ongoing and planned efforts related to energy planning, competitive procurement, incentives, rates, and will require close coordination. What is unique here is the technology-specific lens, but we also want to think about the role of the utility in operating a distribution system as a whole with all these various forms of distributed resources in the future. This effort will be led by Joy Wong in the Energy Resources Division, and she has a great team from across the MPSC who will be part of this effort. I think it'll be a great opportunity for all of us to learn, and the first work group meeting will be held in January. So we encourage those who are interested to sign up for the listservs to receive updates from staff. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Chair Scripps. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thalberg, and thank you for your continued leadership in helping to formulate the strategy and push us further into uncharted areas of utility regulation as DERs sort of get full consideration, and look forward to the fruits of this work. With that, we will have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips? Aye. Commissioner Thalberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20898 is approved. Ms. Kunkel.
Item 4B13 is case numbers U-20905 et al., which involve a matter on the Commission's own motion seeking comments regarding the impacts of order number 872 issued by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission on the Commission's implementation of the Public Utility Regulatory Policies Act of 1978 and extends avoided cost review filing deadlines for some electric utilities. Staff member Caitlin Mucci will describe this order.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Over the past several years, the energy landscape in the United States and in Michigan has been rapidly evolving to move away from a heavy reliance on traditional fossil fuel generation and to shift toward incorporating new renewable energy technologies into public utilities and electric supply portfolios. Electricity markets have also transformed over the decades to become more open, diverse wholesale markets with independent generators producing energy and capacity in addition to public utilities. Because of these changes, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC, has undertaken revisions to the federal regulations implementing the Public Utility Regulatory Policies Act of 1978, or PURPA. PURPA was enacted following the energy crisis of the 1970s with the intention of reducing dependence on oil and natural gas and encouraging the development of alternative energies. On October 4th, 2019, FERC began the process of updating and revising the PURPA rules by issuing a notice of proposed rulemaking. On July 16, 2020, FERC issued an order, FERC Order 872, which set forth significant revisions to the implementation of statutory sections 201 and 210 of PURPA in the rules set forth in 18 CFR Parts 292 and 375. These revisions impact the areas of rates paid to qualifying facilities, or QFs, the 1 mile rule, a utility's obligation to purchase, legally enforceable obligations, or LEOs, and QF self-certification. The following is a brief summary of some of the key rule changes and provisions in the order. For energy, not capacity, FERC granted states the flexibility to set variable energy rates and to set avoided costs based on the competitive solicitations conducted pursuant to standards set out by FERC. FERC modified the 1 mile rule so that parties can show that facilities more than 1 mile and less than 10 miles apart constitute a single facility. There's also an irrebuttable presumption that facilities 10 miles apart or more are separate facilities. FERC lowered a small power production facility's capacity threshold from 20 megawatts to 5 megawatts as it pertains to an electric utility's obligation to purchase. FERC clarified existing federal PURPA regulations already require states, to the extent practicable, to account for reduced loads in setting QF rates. FERC set out standards for determining when an LEO is formed, and FERC Order 872 allows an entity to protest a QF self-certification or self-recertification without having to file and pay for a declaratory order. With this order in case number U20905, the Commission seeks public comments on how FERC Order 872 and its revisions to the federal PURPA rules will impact the Commission's current implementation of PURPA for the utilities captioned in this docket. Comments referencing case number U20905 will be due no later than 5 p.m. Eastern Time on November 30th, 2020, with reply comments due no later than 5 p.m. on December 15th, 2020. Also, recognizing the need for additional time for utilities to assess the impact of FERC Order 872, with this order, the Commission is extending the filing deadlines for some of the captioned utilities' biennial avoided cost reviews. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mucci. Is there an order, Commissioner Phillips, or a motion?
Yes. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Mucci, for the presentation. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20905 et al.
Commissioner Tallberg?
I'll second the motion in case number U20905 et al.
Is there any discussion?
Chair Scripps, I also have comment on this item.
Excellent.
Thank you. All right, first I want to thank Ms. Mucci for her leadership on PURPA implementation issues. I'm not sure she knew it coming into the commission that this was going to be something that would stay with the course of her tenure, but she's done a terrific job working on cases before the Public Service Commission, but also staying abreast of developments in other states and at FERC. FERC's Order 872, issued earlier this year, provides a path to address two challenging aspects of PURPA implementation for state commissions given rapidly changing markets for energy technologies. First, it provides flexibility for pricing of avoided costs to be better in sync with market forces. And second, it provides a competitive bidding framework with proper protocols and state oversight to be used in lieu of administratively determining the utility's capacity need. The second item is timely given that we have the competitive procurement work group underway as part of my power grid and could incorporate these concepts into any new guidelines or rules. I look forward to the comments from stakeholders on this topic to address how Michigan should implement FERC Order 872. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Chair Scripps.
Thank you, Commissioner Tallberg, and appreciate your leadership on this area as well. I think it speaks to the thoughtfulness of our regulatory framework that it's many of our actions over the last several years in some ways anticipated what FERC has done. But we look forward to comments from the stakeholder community about what remaining tweaks might be necessary, and echo your praise for Ms. Mucci's leadership on this. I'm sure that she doesn't think it's a coincidence that we timed this order for Halloween week, given the scary elements of PURPA, but her leadership on this has truly been spooktacular. And with that, we'll move to a roll call vote. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tallberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case numbers U-20905 et al. is approved. Ms. Kunkel?
Item 4C1 is case number U-20839, which involves an application from DTE Gas for ex parte approval to amend its voluntary bio-green gas program and implement a new voluntary emissions offset program pilot. The order before you approves the application.
Commissioner Phillips?
Thank you, Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20839.
Commissioner Talberg,
I second the motion.
is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Talberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20839 is approved. Ms. Kunkel?
Item 4C2 is case number U-20885, which involves an application by RPA Energy, Inc., doing business as Green Choice Energy, for a license as an alternative gas supplier. The order before you approves the application.
Commissioner Phillips?
Thank you, Chairman. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20885.
Commissioner Talberg?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Talberg?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-20885 is approved. We will now turn to an update from Commission staff regarding the My Power Grid initiative, and staff member Heather Canton will describe this initiative. Ms. Canton?
Thank you, Chair Scripps. I do have a slide deck, so I'm going to attempt to share my screen, and hopefully that attempt is successful. Okay, can everyone see that?
We can.
Okay. Once again, good afternoon, Commissioners. So it's been just over 1 year since the MPSC launched the My Power Grid initiative in partnership with Governor Gretchen Whitmer. On October 15, 2020, staff filed a My Power Grid status report outlining the activities that have taken place over the past year. And today I will provide an overview of the work that has been done thus far. So just as a little background, My Power Grid is a focused multi-year stakeholder initiative to maximize the benefits of the transition to clean distributed energy resources, or DERs, for Michigan residents and businesses. My Power Grid seeks to engage utility customers and stakeholders to help integrate new clean energy technologies and optimize grid investments for reliable, affordable electricity service. The initiative includes outreach, education, and regulatory reforms. So there are several key reasons why undertaking this initiative makes sense, but the biggest driving factors are declining prices of DERs and greater customer interest in new clean technologies. The Commission has done a lot of work to prepare for these changes, but more remains to be done. In the spirit of building on the existing foundation, as well as tying together ongoing discrete efforts, the Commission sought to establish an overarching vision and strategic objectives to guide further discussions. My Power Grid has been organized into 3 core areas of emphasis focused on customer engagement, integrating emerging technologies, and optimizing grid investments and performance. Each of these core areas of emphasis have been or will be further broken down into distinct work areas with work teams led by and composed of Commission staff, with each commissioner providing input and guidance within a specific core area of emphasis. The first core area, customer engagement, is led by Commissioner Phillips, and its objective is to provide Michigan residents and businesses with the energy technology programs and price signals that will allow customers to be more active and effective participants in the state's transition to clean and distributed energy resources. The Integrating Emerging Technologies core area is led by Commissioner Talberg and is focused on ensuring timely and fair grid access and appropriate information exchange to support customer-oriented solutions and reliable system operations. And finally, the Optimizing Grid Investments and Performance work area is led by Chair Scripps and is focused on the integration of transmission, distribution, and resource planning to increase transparency and optimize solutions, and the enhancements of tools, financial incentives, and regulatory approaches to adapt to technology change and customer preferences. Activities were prioritized into phases to help manage the workload for staff and stakeholders. During the first year of the My Power Grid initiative, the Commission focused on and prioritized interconnection standards, electric distribution planning, grid security and reliability standards, demand response, and energy programs and technology pilots. Combined, 30 stakeholder meetings were held with over 350 stakeholders participating over the course of a year. The interconnection work group began prior to the onset of My Power Grid, and over the course of a year, 10 stakeholder meetings were held from December of 2018 through March of 2020. Staff engaged stakeholders to develop streamlined standards governing the process to interconnect customer and third-party owned resources to the utility grid in a timely and safe fashion, which will provide greater certainty for customers, utilities, and renewable energy storage, and microgrid developers. A final draft of the interconnection and distributed generation standards was provided to the Commission attorneys on August 31st, and on September 25th, the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearings and Rules approved the request for rulemaking associated with the draft rules. Once all approvals are received, the Commission will issue an order initiating the formal comment process. The Electric Distribution Planning Workgroup also began prior to the onset of My Power Grid, and over the course of half a year, 5 stakeholder meetings were held from June through November of 2019. On April 1st, staff submitted a report that summarized this workgroup activity and included several recommendations relating to hosting capacity analysis, non-wires alternatives, benefit cost analysis, and system resiliency, among other things. The Commission, based on staff's recommendations, provided expectations for the next round of electric utility distribution system investment plans, including the need for more detailed information about areas on the grid which are best equipped to interconnect distributed resources like renewable energy and storage, appropriate metrics for the evaluation of grid performance, and proposals for non-wires alternatives to traditional distribution system investments. The Grid Security and Reliability Standards Workgroup was charged with recommending revisions to the Commission's service quality and reliability standards, as well as the technical standards for electric service rule sets, consistent with the recommendations from the statewide energy assessment issued last year relative to reliability standards and cybersecurity. As a result of 4 stakeholder meetings and several subgroup meetings, staff identified gaps in existing service quality and reliability rules for electric service and proposed solutions, including improvements in expected levels of performance of the electric grid and requiring automatic bill credits for customers who experience long-term or multiple outages, as well as strengthening cybersecurity and monitoring and reporting. Initial reports were issued by staff on July 31st, and they will continue to engage with stakeholders to refine the rule sets in preparation for the final reports to be issued on December 15th. And a formal rulemaking process will commence thereafter. This work group was tasked with tackling demand response recommendations, also from the statewide energy assessment related to increased customer participation and communication to improve future performance when deployment is required. Staff held 4 stakeholder meetings from January to April and worked with stakeholders to evaluate the performance of utility demand response programs during the 2019 polar vortex event. In a report filed on July 31st, staff identified solutions and suggested improvements, including more frequent customer communications, better customer engagement, and incorporation of new technology to ensure that reductions in customer electric demand are able to be relied upon when needed. Today, the Commission made a decision in response to staff's demand response report and recommendations. Through 7 stakeholder meetings held from February to June, staff worked with many stakeholders as part of the Energy Programs and Technology Pilots work group to review past Commission pilot programs and best practices from other states. Staff developed recommendations on objective criteria by which energy program and technology pilots can be evaluated by the Commission to ensure value for ratepayers while helping to pave the way for experimental and innovative projects as part of its final report filed on September 30th. As outlined earlier, the Commission also made a decision today in response to staff's report and recommendations, seeking further input and adopting certain recommendations. So with much of the work of phase 1 activities nearing conclusion, the Commission has initiated aspects of phase 2. Activities related to integration of resource distribution, transmission, planning, and competitive procurement were formally launched through Commission orders on August 20th, and stakeholder meetings have already occurred in both of those work areas. The integration of resource distribution transmission planning work group will address potential ways to align distribution plans with integrated resource plans or IRPs, identify potential revisions to the Commission approved IRP parameters or filing requirements, evaluate methodologies to quantify and value generation diversity in IRPs, and ensure the climate goals announced by Governor Whitmer on September 23rd are considered in future IRP filings. The competitive procurement work group is charged with developing competitive procurement guidelines that will ensure a strong technology neutral market response and value for ratepayers through transparency, non-discriminatory access, certainty, and fairness in bidding processes. And finally, the new technologies and business models work group was also officially launched today as part of phase 2 and will explore emerging technologies and business models. In order to focus regulatory efforts and help manage the workload during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Commission modified plans for the My Power Grid initiative in an April 15th order in case number U20757. Specifically, the Commission deferred and staggered activities that had not yet commenced as they recognized that activities may need to be delayed during the pendency of this emergency. So the remaining work groups will be launched at various times over the next year. So since October 17th of 2019, seven work groups led by staff have conducted 32 stakeholder meetings, engaging hundreds of stakeholders and submitting 5 reports with recommendations for Commission action. Additionally, staff filed a 1-year status report to the docket in case number U20645 on October 15th. While My Power Grid efforts have been complicated by the need to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is clear that the energy transition continues its momentum and that the work of My Power Grid remains as important today as upon its launch a year ago. To ensure adequate time and given the importance of the remaining work areas, the October 15th status report recommends that staff submit a second status report during the 3rd quarter of 2021 and extend the deadline for the My Power Grid final report until 2022. And to recap, today the Commission issued several My Power Grid related orders adopting staff recommendations, directing additional work, and kicking off new workgroup activity. The Commission issued an order in case number U20628 in response to staff's demand response report and recommendations that were filed on July 31st. Specifically, this order directs DTE and Consumers Energy to report on communications protocols with their DR customers and to report on the exploration and potential use of partnerships with DR providers in their annual reports. The order directs utilities to update their retail tariffs to include staff's recommendations related to documented, simulated, and real power testing, as well as customer notifications and penalties in their next rate case or in a standalone filing by April 1st of 2021. The order also directs the utilities to develop and submit an updated 45-day report template that breaks out who called the DR event and whether the call was for reliability or economics, along with any other updates deemed necessary. The updated template must be submitted by November 30th, and comments will be accepted on the proposed 45-day report revisions through December 14th. The Commission is also requesting comments and responses to a list of questions regarding the potential lifting of the ban on DR aggregation for bundled utility customers. Comments for this must be submitted by November 30th, and reply comments are due by December 14th. The order in case number U20633 directed staff to work with utilities and stakeholders to develop recommendations to be considered by the Commission as to how utilities who file IRPs may best consider Governor Whitmer's My Healthy Climate goals of achieving economy-wide carbon neutrality no later than 2050 and to maintain net negative emissions thereafter. There is an interim goal of achieving a 28% reduction below 2005 levels in greenhouse gas emissions by 2025 into plans to be filed by utilities as early as 2021. Staff's recommendations are due December 15th, and the Commission will accept comments on the staff's recommendations through January 12th of 2021. So as Joy described earlier, the Commission issued an order in response to staff's energy programs and technology pilots report and recommendations, requesting comments on staff's proposed definition of a pilot, as well as the recommended objective criteria to be applied in the evaluation of pilots for electricity and natural gas. The Commission is seeking input on staff's proposal from all regulated utilities as well as stakeholders. Comments will be accepted through December 11th. Also, the Commission is adopting staff's recommendation to develop an online Michigan pilot directory and encourages utilities to work with staff to assist in the provision of appropriate data to populate the directory in the first half of 2021. And finally, as outlined by Commissioner Thalberg, the Commission issued an order launching the New Technologies and Business Models Workgroup today. This work group will examine regulatory and business model barriers to cost-effective deployment and full utilization of clean distributed energy resources in Michigan. So as shown throughout this presentation, there is still quite a bit of work to be done. The Commission continues to seek participation from anyone who's interested in the ongoing MyPowerGrid efforts. As a reminder, we have set up a dedicated website at michigan.gov/mypowergrid, where information about this initiative and each of the specific work areas is available. In addition, we do have a dedicated email address to help answer questions related to MyPowerGrid, and as well as email listservs for each of the work areas. Information will continuously be updated through these listservs, posted to the website, pushed out over email, and disseminated via social media. And we just want to thank stakeholders. We appreciate the efforts that the numerous stakeholders, presenters, commenters, and other workgroup participants have put forth in contributing to the achievements of MyPowerGrid to date, and look forward to building on the strong foundation that has been laid over the past year. So with that, thank you for the opportunity to provide this overview, and I will turn it back over to you, Chair Scripps.
Thank you, Ms. Canton, for that comprehensive overview of the work to date and where we stand in the process. I want to echo your thanks to the staff. As we've gone through today's orders and indeed the orders that we've issued over the past year connected to MyPowerGrid, it's clear, I hope, that there are just so many staff involved from literally every corner of the Commission, from rate design to customer assistance to operations and every place in between. The staff has taken this out at a time in addition to their ongoing work, which is considerable, and also in a challenging and uncertain time made all the more so by the COVID pandemic. And I truly believe that the work of our staff on this initiative has been exceptional, and appreciate each of you for taking this on. I also want to echo your thanks to the stakeholders. We have, as you noted, dozens and maybe hundreds of participants, hundreds of hours logged, meetings and discussions, thousands of pages of comments, and we've benefited from really having some of the best minds in Michigan and indeed nationally working on these issues and adding their expertise and their perspectives in what I think is a model of a collaborative process where there are differences, of course, but working through challenging issues and trying to find solutions that put us on the right path. And I would say, and I think this is borne out by some of the actions taken today and previously, that the focus of this initiative remains on action. This work is not designed as an academic exercise or to result in fancy reports, but to lead to the steps necessary to ensure that Michigan residents and businesses reap the benefits of the ongoing transitions taking place in the electricity sector. And I think that's what's happening. Guidance on future utility distribution and integrated resource plan filings, additional rigor in evaluating the purpose and results of pilot projects, and the creation of the Michigan pilot database. I'm just incredibly excited about that as a way of collecting our learnings. Updates to the interconnection and service quality rules, consideration of new forms of DR and DER utilization, and much, much more. So it's an ambitious project, but one that I'm confident will continue to pay dividends for decades to come. And finally, I want to thank my fellow commissioners. This has been, from the beginning, a truly and fully collaborative process launched by Chair Talberg, who I will always think of as Chair Talberg, and has benefited tremendously from the ongoing thoughtfulness, creativity, curiosity, and passion of Commissioners Phillips and Talberg. And together with the many staff and stakeholders, I think the work to date sets us up well for the work to come. So thanks again, Ms. Canton, for the overview, and for all of the staff, stakeholders, and my fellow commissioners for the work that's been put in. Additional comments from the other commissioners on this?
Well said, Chair Scripps.
Agree. I would just also acknowledge Heather's team on the communication side, supporting staff and the commission. It's really critical, and stakeholders, so that information is readily available and opportunities for comment, just to make it, there's so much here, and the communication side of this has been really critical, and her team has done a fabulous job.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we have now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the commission. Again, if you would like to make a comment and have access to the Teams live stream Q&A feature on your computer, please enter your name and your comment, which will then be read aloud to the commissioners. This feature is available on the right-hand side of the control bar next to the mute button. As a reminder, the Q&A feature is intended for public comments directed to the commission and not to engage with other participants or respond to their comments. After taking any comments through this feature, we will open up the phone line to those who called into the meeting and would like to address the commission verbally. If you want to be queued up for verbal comments, please enter your name in the live stream Q&A feature and indicate that you wish to make a verbal comment, but please do not include your written comment, as this will avoid duplication. I will first call on these names in the order received. After hearing from those individuals listed in the Q&A, we will ask if there are any comments from individuals who are on the phone line but not utilizing the online Q&A feature. Please note that you can only make verbal comments by calling into the meeting. When it is your turn to speak, press *6 on your phone to unmute. As a reminder, this public comment period is for commissioners to listen to comments and concerns and not to answer specific questions. When providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live, and if you are willing to share, so that we have that for our records. And please limit comments to one per person and keep them brief, no longer than 3 minutes, so that we have a chance to hear from all who would like to comment. And with that, Ms. Cole, are there any comments that have been added into the chat feature at this point?
Chair Scripps, at this time there are no comments, and there is no one queued up to speak in the Q&A feature either.
It is just like you to not only answer my question, but the next one as well. Thanks for that.
Chair Scripps, there is someone in the lobby. I don't know if we need to address that.
I can admit that participant.
Okay.
And they should have been admitted.
IT here, they're kind of stuck. It won't let us admit
them.
No.
Okay.
My guess would be they called and uncalled, and Teams is having a fit about it.
So maybe we could take note of that number and do some follow-up. Okay.
And with that, is there anybody that has called into the meeting who's not able to use the chat feature to queue up, who would like to address the commission? Again, it's *6 to unmute. And I'll ask again, is there anybody who has called into the meeting who would like to make public comment at this time? You can unmute your phone by dialing *6.
Chair Scripps, we do have Bridget Vile, who has requested to speak via the Q&A function.
Excellent. Ms. Vile? If you're on the phone, it is *6, and that's the only way to actually comment. You can type comments into the, but you can't sort of comment through the computer if that's how you're dialed in right now. Ms. Vile, if you are able to join, I'm not able to unmute. I'm on Teams. Yes, so you can type in a comment on Teams, but the only way to actually comment verbally is to call into the meeting. And I believe that number is 248-509-0316, and you can enter conference ID 941-235-390 #. Again, conference ID 941-235-390 #. And that is in the published part of the Q&A, if you can see that. Apologize for the challenges here. Or if you'd prefer, you can type your comment into this window and we can give you a couple of minutes. Let's wait a minute and see if we can overcome the challenges. And Ms. Vial, if you are dialing in, you will need to press #6 when you join in order to unmute.
And it looks like that other number was of a MPSC staff.
Excellent, thank you. While we're waiting for Ms. Vial to join, Ms. Cole, I believe that there's a comment in the chat.
Yes, it's a question. It's from Emily. It says, what is the next step for entities who would like to be involved in the case regarding demand response aggregation? Is there an opportunity now to intervene? In this chat, I will place a link to the docket that will provide more information for how to become involved in that case.
Perfect, thank you. And again, that case is U-20628. And I'll take this opportunity to mention that our executive business section is working and is sort of all hands on deck given the number of orders to try and get these published as soon as we can. So they should be up later today or tomorrow at the latest for sort of additional details. I heard I think somebody joined the line, and is that you, Ms. Vial? Are you able to hear me and able to join? Again, it's *6 to unmute.
Hello, hello. Is it coming through?
Yes, you are.
Okay, wow.
Thank you for your patience.
Oh my gosh, thank you all. That was a journey.
Yeah,
I called in. No, not at all. I'll know better for next time, but I came and wanted to give a comment today regarding DTE's filing in case U20921, which is the accounting request. My name is Bridget Vial. I'm with the Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition, so I'll say that. And the recent filing from DTE showed that they collected more than they expected to from the residential class, likely due to people being home more and spending more on energy, and that their plan for returning that to customers is to delay the filing of the rate case. And I think at the Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition, we have concerns about whether or not that's actually an equitable way to redistribute the funds in the first place, and whether delaying the filing of a couple of months is actually sort of like fulfilling, returning those $30 million to customers, not knowing how the commission would rule on such a rate increase. But more than that, really, we are not out of the COVID crisis at all, and there's a great gap and a great need for folks who are unable to pay their energy bills right now. And so I don't actually think that it's appropriate that we strive to return that $30 million equally to all customers. I think until we are out of the woods with COVID, we have access to those funds. There should be a way of ensuring that those funds that are associated with the COVID crisis are retained in order to support folks who are most impacted by the crisis.
Great. Thank you for that, Ms. Weil. I appreciate both the comments and the flexibility and patience in sort of getting to actually join and be able to make them. So thank you for that. Is there anybody else on the phone who would like to make public comment at this time? Okay, well, before we adjourn, I have a few announcements. First, I want my computer to work. The first is to note that earlier today, the Commission staff released its 2020-21 Winter Energy Appraisal. It's no surprise that the continued impact of the pandemic has thrown a curveball to forecasting, and yet at the same time, the pandemic has upended typical energy use patterns, driving down business energy use while increasing residential energy demand. And I wanted to share a few highlights from the appraisal. The first is that the industrial sector is expected to see a significant decline in natural gas use due to the impact of COVID-19 on regional and global economic activity. Retail propane prices started the heating season at an average of $1.66 per gallon, a 6-cent increase from the 2019 winter average, but a 1-cent decrease from this time last year. And propane supplies at this point are abundant. Electricity sales declined noticeably with the onset of COVID-19, and no supply shortages or transmission constraints are expected for the winter. Residential electric bills are generally higher, due in part to the prevalence of remote working. Demand for motor gasoline in 2019 declined for the first time since 2012, falling 4.3% to 4.6 billion gallons. The Energy Information Administration expects Midwest gasoline prices to average $2.02 per gallon in 2020, 46 cents a gallon lower than a year ago. And Michigan produced about 5.1 million barrels of crude oil in 2019, down marginally from 5.4 million barrels in 2018, with prices for Michigan sweet and sour crude oil averaging about $50 per barrel and $45 per barrel, respectively. So I encourage you to read the full assessment or appraisal. There's a fair amount of Michigan-specific detail as we head into the winter heating season in these most challenging of times. And second, and on that point, a reminder that for those struggling with utility bills amidst the pandemic and the economic consequences, just a reminder that help is available. The new fiscal year for assistance programs began October 1st, and utilities also have flexible payment options, and many have additional protections in place as well. So if you're struggling, please call your energy provider and ask what options are available for both assistance and flexibility, or you can reach out by dialing 211 or going to mi211.org or visiting the Michigan Public Service Commission's website at michigan.gov/MPSC to be linked up with some of those assistance programs and the providers. But again, if you're struggling, there is assistance available, and encourage you to reach out. Any additional updates or announcements from Commissioners Thalberg or Phillips?
No.
Very good. Well, with that, we will conclude today's meeting. The next regular commission meeting is scheduled for November 19th, 2020 at 1:30 p.m. It, like this one, will be conducted electronically via telephonic and video conferencing with the commissioners attending remotely. That will be the case for the remainder of 2020 under the recently enacted changes to the Open Meetings Act that were passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. And so with that, is there a motion to adjourn, Commissioner Phillips?
Thank you, Chairman. I hope everyone stays safe and stays well during this Halloween weekend, and I move to adjourn today's meeting.
Commissioner Thalberg?
Second the motion.
We will now have a roll call vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Thalberg?
Oh,
I will
jumped-
also vote in favor of the motion, and this motion carries by unanimous vote. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all.